All right. So this morning I am joined by James Jones the fourth, a recent defensive back from the Air Force Academy who spent some time with the Miami Dolphins. James, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. The pleasure's all mine. So the main reason we are discussing James today is you were recently at the XFL Combine. What was that experience like for you?
That was just a great experience, honestly. A lot of good guys out there competing, trying to get their feet wet, get back in the groove of playing football. There's a lot of guys that are around the country that are still training and grinding and work 9 to 5 day jobs. So it was good to see that I'm not the only person kind of still striving for my dreams that you know aren't on a team right now.
Absolutely. So, given the fact that you were not invited to the NFL Combine, do you think the XFL Combine kind of held a little bit of a special place?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was definitely a special moment for me. Like any other player, you love having the recognition and kind of having a platform to showcase your talent, and not receiving that for my senior year. This was definitely kind of a special moment for me to have that moment to showcase what I can do.
Absolutely. And what a special performance you had. I mean, you lit up the combine, you were at the top of the categories, and almost every defensive back category, it seemed like you actually ended up on a list I wrote about the best performances from the combine because literally, like I said, you were on top five category for more of the drills than not. Um, but so I wanted to kind of go all the way back to your high school days. But before we get into like your football career, I had a very specific question I wanted to ask you in particular. Colorado is kind of known for one food dish in particular, and if you're from Colorado, you probably know this. If you're not, you might not. But we're really known for our green chili. So I wanted to ask: is there any state that beats us when it comes to the green chili? You're a little bit more traveled than I am.
Yeah, I mean, green chili in Colorado is definitely a prime ingredient for a lot of great dishes. The only places I've been that might be able to compete is just kind of in that southwest region with New Mexico, a little bit of West Texas, but I mean, consistently Colorado gets it done.
Absolutely. So, going all the way back to high school, you attended Mullen, which is in Colorado, basically the powerhouse school when it comes to football. What was it like attending a school with this high standards so early on in your career?
Yeah, I mean, it was an experience for sure. I mean, I moved to Colorado from eighth grade, so I come to the state, and that's the first thing that I see is, J.K. Mullen football, and everyone is, fired up. Um, Growing up a little bit around the country with my dad being the coach, I've seen football in a lot of great states: Texas, California, Florida, everywhere, and you know, coming to Colorado and being able to be in an atmosphere that you know football is everything. It was a great experience, and you know, having ESPN 300 guys and top ranked All Americans coming in, and I'm a freshman, seeing those types of things definitely drove me to be, the player that I am today, and it kind of set the tone for my career thereafter.
Absolutely. Where did you move up from, if you don't mind me asking?
So like I said, my dad being a coach, we bounced around. So we moved from New England. I had My dad was at Dartmouth, so we were up in New Hampshire for a couple of years, and I had been to a boys boarding school up there, where it was heavy sport focus, and then before there, Kansas, Ohio. Like I said, we've been all around the map. So yeah.
If you had to pick one NFL team that you root for, who is it? I'm curious.
That's a tough one. I always kind of go back to the hometown team, just the Texans, just because that's where I was born, and Houston's a great place. Still have some family there, so that's kind of like you know my resting place of a lot of my memories of just growing up early childhood. So
Very fair. Very fair. So after Mullen, you chose to stay close to Denver, Colorado, and attended the Air Force Academy. Air Force is often regarded as one of the very respectable schools in Colorado when comes to its football program. Can you speak to the coaching you received while you were there and how the staff helped you grow into an NFL talent?
yeah, absolutely. People that aren't familiar kind of with how things go at the academy. It's highly structured. Of course, being a military school, um, there's a certain way, that you do things. It's a certain culture that's built, and having half of the staff being alumni, um, definitely that structure carried over into football. And then, just being fortunate enough where my head coach, my defensive coordinator, probably 75% of the staff either coached or played in the NFL. So we were basically groomed as college players, under a military slash NFL structure. So it was full throttle, high paced, a lot of information, fire hose of information, and it was a process. A lot of guys that go to the academy, wonder why a lot of underclassmen don't play early. Well, the way the system is set up, there's so much information and so much of a learning curve that has to be achieved before you can get on the field. But as you see the successes, we're one of those mid-major schools who can compete with just about anybody in the country, just because we're on top of it when it comes to, you know, all the nuances of football, whether it's fitting gaps, being at the right place, right time, timing, spacing, all those things that make you achieve, in the game. We It just kind of became second nature because the amount of reps that we got with it.
Absolutely. That's a good point because when you did arrive at Air Force, you didn't play immediately. And I wanted to ask you, how valuable do you think that year to kind of absorb the defense and get acclimated to college football? How valuable was that to you as a person?
Oh, it was highly valuable. Like I said, it's a system, and when you have a bunch of eager young bucks, 18, 19-year-old guys who were like, "I'm ready to go, I'm ready to play," there's part of humbling yourself as a player and saying, "Look, I could possibly play on the field, but am I ready to play at the level that is our standard?" And 9 times out of 10, it's not necessarily the case. So, learning and understanding the process, trusting your coach, and trusting, the system, definitely allows you to be successful.
So was there a family background with the armed forces, or were you the first?
So I was the first member to attend to an academy. I did have my grandfathers both served in Vietnam, so there was a little bit of a military background with my family. But um, to go through a commissioning source in an academy system, I definitely am the first in my family.
Interesting. So after the 2021 season, you declared for the NFL draft, and you ended up getting signed with the Miami Dolphins as an undrafted free agent. What was that experience like with Miami?
It was a great experience. Went down to mini camp with those guys. Having have already commissioned into the Air Force because I was a December grad. That pretty much is where that opportunity stopped, just because the double employment doesn't work with the military and getting through those stipulations. But I mean, love love the atmosphere. Coach McDaniels is a great dude, uh, Colorado native himself, and then working and playing under Shanahan's system, which I was kind of familiar with already. It was definitely a good opportunity, and it was good for me to kind of gauge and get a scope of what it takes to play at that level. What's the talent pool like? How fast is the game? And allowed me to gain some perspective as I work towards this point now, getting back into the game. So.
Absolutely. So is your service up with the Air Force now? Are you free and clear to pursue football?
So right now, I'm just working through a couple of things, just trying to cross some cross some T's and dot some I's. Um, Per law, you have to hit your 2-year mark once you've commissioned before you can seek employment with football. So my 2 years come up in December, and hopefully, if everything works out, I'll be playing for somebody next spring and next fall. So.
Absolutely. Well, talk about the timing being perfect to jump right in there with the XFL season or perhaps the USFL season, and then go right into the NFL.
Absolutely.
So I kind of skipped over it briefly there, but back in college, you were used in a lot of different manners. You were used as an in the box safety, as an outside defender, as a cornerback, and you also played the single high. Is there a role that you prefer in particular, or is it just kind of whatever you're asked?
I'll play whatever I'm asked. I do. I think as I've gotten older and involved through the game, I think there's certain things about each position that I love. I love playing boundary corner, being able to fit the edge and and kind of playing a dual role of, you know, some man-on-man shots and coming in and supporting the run, but playing at high hole safety, at free safety. I mean, that's pretty special. Being able to just roam around, make plays on the ball, see the field, see the play develop, and just kind of shoot your gun. So yeah, I mean, I love it all, and pretty much whatever a team would ask me to play, I play.
Do you prefer to settle into one role in particular, or do you kind of like that being able to move around and attack an offense from different directions?
It just depends. I'm the type of guy. It just depends on the scheme that we play versus the scheme, that the offense is playing. Um, I like the versatility and bouncing around, but just like anybody else, having the ability to sit in a position and find your rhythm is also, you know, a token of being able to progress at a position.
Absolutely. So you see all the Eagles gear behind me. I've got a couple suggestions on NFL players that you maybe fit the model of, but who are some NFL players or players in general that you've modeled your game after?
So I look at a lot of old school players, and then um, definitely try and model some of the things of guys now. I look at guys back in the day like Charles Woodson, just kind of that versatile DB, the complete DB in my mind. Just being able to play at a high level at corner and safety. When I play safety, I try to roam and be as violent as Ed Reed. You know, um, being just fluid and technical and savvy and just being the best athlete on the field, like Dion. So I definitely try to model different pieces of the game off of different players, but also in today's age, the game's evolving. Guys who are long and wiry and athletic, like Jalen Ramsey. A lot of guys that kind of go unheard, but are really good at what they do. AJ Bouye's got very clean feet. Um, Ball skills like Xavier Howard. So I just take different things from different people's games and I try to mash it into mine. And then, you know, I want to be the guy that I try to play like James Jones. I want to be that guy one day. So for me, if I can take the good pieces of everyone and mash it into my game and then develop that to be my game, you know, that's just kind of how I look at, guys. So,
That makes perfect sense. One of the guys in particular that I was thinking of was Malcolm Jenkins.
oh
Malcolm
yeah.
Jenkins was used all over the field with Philadelphia. It seems like a great comparison for kind of the way you've been used in your career as well. So during your college career, you faced quite a bit of adversity, and I think that it takes a special individual to be able to push through some of the situations that you faced. I mean, obviously, as a sophomore, you suffered a very significant injury and ended up missing the season. And then later on, you ended up having to deal with the COVID situation as well. How do you keep yourself motivated through situations like that to continue to keep pushing and keep pursuing football?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely looking back, it seemed a lot shorter than being in the moment. You come off of playing, starting 10 games and being the guy on the field, and then next camp, it's 2 weeks before week one, and I blow my knee out. So for me, it was definitely one of those things that it kind of brought me down to earth and saying, how much do you really love this? How much do you really want this? Um, Coming back from injury and playing a backup role and just kind of being a plug and play guy. And then from there, COVID happens. Now it's, you know, do I just kind of ride out into the sunset, or is this something that I still really want? So, you know, take some time off with COVID, come back, and I'm still kind of playing somewhat of a support role on the team. But then that's where my special teams game flourished. And I just own my position, own the situation I was in, and I just took what I could get. And I think that really really helped me as a player in just my development and the consistency that I had because I was limited so many reps. So my senior season, you know, I was limited reps, but every time I played, it was a highlight play. So it definitely changed and molded my game. It definitely gave me an opportunity to really self-reflect on my purpose in football and why I play and how much I love the game just for the game itself.
Yeah, I can imagine that was a tough time, especially with the way it all hit in your career. It was like the injury happened, you came back, you were kind of getting your footing again, and then COVID happened, and then you luckily got another season, thankfully, due to the NCAA adding that year of eligibility to
Mhm.
kind of finish out your career the right way. But it was, I can only imagine trying to go through that mentally and keep motivated after everything you'd been through. So I'm kind of interested to hear. I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit there. You played a lot of special teams with Air Force. So is there any unit in particular you cannot play, or did you pretty much just play anywhere and everywhere when it came to special teams as well?
Anywhere and everywhere. And I told our special teams coordinator, look, coach, if it's a position to play, let me play it. You know, so whether it being a gunner, whether it being a rusher on punt block, or going out and covering the gunners, um, anything. You know, I even was like, hey, let me return. I returned in high school, and I had about a 45-yard average. So let me get some return game. And obviously, me not being an offensive player and having played that in a while, they were kind of hesitant with that. But I mean, open for everything. And then I would definitely say like kickoff coverage. That was my bread and butter. Being a knife guy that they just let loose and say, hey, you know, you don't really have an angle. You just go down there and blow it up. And had a lot of tackles my senior year just off of that. So, yeah, special teams definitely holds a special place in my heart because, I think personally it saved my career. And on top of that, a lot of guys kind of get into that point where they're like, oh, well, I have all these defensive reps or I have all these offensive reps, and they commit to that and they kind of shade behind special teams when, special teams is a whole lot of fun out there. So,
Absolutely, and I'm sure you've followed this given your situation, but there's a lot of guys that make the league from the XFL, the USFL, the CFL because of their special teams acumen, and not necessarily what they do on defense or offense. So, that kind of gives you an edge over certain players. When it comes to making an NFL roster.
absolutely, absolutely. And I even look at a lot of those guys who play in the league and make their bread and butter off of special teams, and they're playing nice long careers playing special teams. Like, you know, Slater up in at the Patriots. That's a career special teams guy, and he's probably the best to ever do it. You know, and he's creating a new name for that role in that position of being that Swiss Army knife guy. So
That was going to be my example as well. You being a Boston guy, that makes perfect sense. So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, Matthew Slater, his entire career has basically been built on special teams. So he's a perfect example when it comes to how valuable it can be. He's listed as a wide receiver, but I think he's got more tackles than catches throughout his career,
yeah,
actually.
exactly. Yeah.
So you're kind of a prototypical height, weight, speed candidate for the NFL. You're 6'2", 195 pounds. You ran a 4.56, 1.6, 10-yard split at your pro day, 36-inch vertical. Basically all these numbers that you want to hear from a defensive back. After your pro day, which teams besides Miami reached out to you, and what were you hearing about your potential draft stock at the time?
Definitely heard from Miami. Uh, my agent handled a lot of that, so some of the trickles of conversation I didn't really hear. So, and he's definitely a type of guy where he's like, I'm going to handle this and then present what we have. So, I know there's a couple of teams in the talks, but yeah, basically, it was trying to get around just the whole military stipulation because teams knew that I wouldn't be able to play that season, and then not being able to sign for monetary value until my 2 year mark. Definitely kind of tied our hands, but we worked with it, and we just took the opportunity to go out to camp and perform just to give ourselves a shot to kind of leverage this for now. Okay, we see how good he is, we see what he can do. Now let's see how we can stay relevant through the next year and a half, so that when the time does come, we're ready to go.
Interesting. So that's kind of a whole player base and talent pool that I had never really thought about that the USFL and XFL should think about pursuing. I mean,
Mhm.
armed forces members that are kind of just coming out of their contracts, That's a really good talent pool to pursue. I mean, you got Army, Navy, Air Force. Why not, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Makes a lot of sense to me. I had not thought about that previously, so I appreciate you bringing that up. So we kind of talked about it briefly just a second ago. You've played all over the field. You've played cornerback, free safety, strong safety, special teams. Is there any role you've played or held at any point that I haven't listed?
Yeah. So even like a smaller outside linebacker role, playing kind of an overhang. I've done that before college. What people don't know is I was an offensive guy. So I didn't even play DB until my junior year of high school, and it was foreign to me. I never played. So, yeah, a lot of receiver, a lot of running back. And that's where I thought my career was going until, I was a late bloomer. So I came into high school 5'4", 111 pounds. And I know 111 pounds because I was a wrestler and I knew exactly what my weight was as a freshman. And, it was one of those things where I started to grow and just my body type, how long and wiry I was, I'm like, I could definitely play receiver at this size, but they're like, it's pretty prime size to play DB. So I kind of just made that transition. And it was just one of those things where I fell in love with the position and the freedom that you have to make plays for yourself on defense. And that's kind of where I've been ever since.
Absolutely. So, safe to say, if the topic ever came up, you'd be open to playing offense again.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
kind of figured that'd be the case, but always got to throw that in there just in case the right coach is watching.
Exactly.
So since that time with Miami, you kind of touched on it a little bit ago. You've had to look for opportunities to stay relevant. And that's what the XFL has boiled down to. For a man like yourself, who's kind of in a unique situation, how important are leagues like the USFL, XFL, and CFL for you?
I mean, it's extremely important. I think the purpose of those leagues not only is to develop guys, but find the right timing. I think it's one of those things where um, a lot of guys that are free agents have the talent to play, but the timing may not be right. I mean, as you know, the league is all about numbers and certain situations. You have a guy who could play defensive back for a squad, but that year they're starting, all pro receiver or all pro linebackers down, and now you have to take one of those DB slots and fill that with someone else or fill that with two guys, to kind of cushion the blow. So I think these spring leagues are huge, huge, huge opportunities, and I mean I'm myself is just grateful that they're even there because I definitely will see a lot of guys' careers who will be saved and propelled from it. I mean, I know a guy, Lucky Jackson, who played at Western Kentucky. Great, phenomenal player. Had a good pro day, and just kind of through the timing and weeds of everything, me and him, we talk often. You know, he didn't really get an NFL shot. He plays in the XFL, top receiver in the league. Now he signed with the Vikings, and God willing, he'll make a 53 man. So it's just one of those things where, you know, it it's one of those opportunities that I think the timing is just right for where the league is going and where, you know, a lot of guys who are developing themselves and really want the opportunity to play, I think everything's matching up perfectly.
I would agree. I mean, we saw already, I want to say, 70 players
Mhm.
signed between the XFL and USFL, somewhere in that range at this point. So obviously, these leagues are providing opportunities that just weren't there previously, especially before when we didn't have two leagues to employ guys. So it's definitely interesting. Now, obviously, hopefully, we hope that you land in one of these leagues, whether it's the CFL, the XFL, USFL. But would you entertain a contract from, say, like a league like the IFL, who's partnered with the XFL, if a contract doesn't come from one of these other leagues?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm a football guy through and through. Like I bleed ball. So for me, just an opportunity to play. I'm gonna compete. I'm gonna put myself in a position where you know I'll always try to progress and get to that next level. And even if I got to start in a flag league somewhere, like I really don't care. So, opportunities are
Awesome.
opportunities.
Awesome. Had to ask that because I'm not sure if you're aware, but Colorado is gaining another alternative football league team here pretty soon, actually.
Yeah, awesome.
But moving forward, is there anyone you wanted to shout out or anywhere where fans can find you to support you on social media?
Yeah, I mean, on social media, James W. Jones IV fourth, on all my handles. There's a couple guys, I grind in every day and every grind day in and day out with guys like DeKalen Brooks, played linebacker at Florida State, Mari Alexander, Zane Lewis, who was one of my teammates at the academy. There's a lot of really good talent, and there's a lot of guys that are grinding like they are with squads right now who are just waiting for opportunities. So uh, I think this is a good opportunity that's going to happen, whether I make one of those squads or another squad somewhere else. Um, but I think everyone has a good opportunity to get some things done.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, James. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for bearing with me through the background noise here.
Yeah,
I
no worries.
appreciate that as well. Hopefully, my editing can help some of that, and we'll get rid of a little bit of it for the fans. But once again, really appreciate your time. I really was inspired by your performance. Like I said, I think Colorado kind of gets forgotten about when it comes to the professional world. I think there's less than 30 players out of the state of Colorado between CU, CSU, Western, Air Force, all these different schools that we have here. So to see a man like you who's turning heads because of your performance in these pro days, these XFL combines, and a guy who's really got an opportunity to make it to the next level is always inspiring for me as an individual. I'm always rooting for the Colorado guys. So I hope to see you sign with the team soon. Best of luck in the future. And once again, thank you so much for your time.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Sam.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
What is up, Shady Sports Network? I'm back here with a XFL Combine stud, Mr. Chindu Oparaku. Chindu, how you doing tonight, man?
Hey, Chris, I appreciate you having me. I'm doing well.
Man, really excited to have you on. So right off the bat, you went to the XFL Combine. You dominated there. Like I was telling you off camera, a lot of guys have trouble with combines. How were you able to find so much success at this combine?
Honestly, from high school, I've always been a big combine guy. I always knew like I was able to jump farther, run farther, stronger than most. That it just ended up happening like that. Like I've been here before, so when I went to the XFL combine, like it wasn't like unknown land. I knew when I came here, I had a mission to do, and I just carried that out.
For sure. So, kind of going to a combine, a big part of that is having the mental strength to be able to do it. There's so many guys there chasing the same dream of getting to the XFL, going to the NFL. How do you think you were able to stand out, and what mental preparation led you to be so successful?
So leading up to the XFL combine, honestly, I kind of kept everything a secret. Like I didn't really tell my friends, my family, anything. I feel as if there's like real power in the tongue, and there's power in keeping your plans private until they really happen and blossom. So I want to say a day before the combine, I got a hotel around my house. Well, we're talking about the DC showcase, not the Texas one, but leading up to DC to Texas, I kind of like isolated myself, covered myself in prayers, stretched, all that. I kind of like isolated and put myself into this mind state of just like, this is you're locked in, go out there and dominate.
Man, you just got me so fired up saying that. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. That is so amazing. There's very few people that can do that, and I think that's what made you stand out right away. Now, just hearing that, now I know why you dominated.
Yeah, for real.
Yourself, and not telling people. That's something I believe in too. Like, keeping your business private.
Nah, it's true, man. It's big power in the tongue. Big power.
For sure. So, kind of after the combine, what were your next steps like? I mentioned off camera that you work a regular job. What does that look like for you? What has your daily routine been looking like?
So after the Dallas, Texas XFL combine, I came back home and, I kind of just picked back up where I left off at. So I went back to work on Monday. I work for the government. Uh, it was just a lot of like going to work, going to the gym, going to work, going to the gym. Like it was the same old stuff. So I didn't really switch anything up too crazy.
For sure. I think part of, not switching things up is having a set routine. So
Exactly.
kind of take me through a day, maybe a week even. What's your daily routine looking like day to day?
Day to day. So I'll start off with like a Monday because literally all my days are the same. So Monday I probably get up in the morning like 8 o'clock, do a slight little stretch because I ain't gonna lie. When I wake up in the morning, man, I'm stiff. My back be hurting, my neck be hurting. I don't know why, but I think I'm a crazy sleeper, I guess. But whatever. Um, so I'll probably wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, get ready for work. I work down in DC, so that's probably like a 35, 45-minute drive from my house in Maryland. I go there, I work my regular 9 to 5 job. When I get off at 5 o'clock p.m., drive back to Maryland. I have this local facility that I work out at. It's called Workout Anytime Lanham. It's a 24/7 gym that's like down the street from my crib. And I just go in there and I'll just be in there for hours, man, working everything. Strength, mobility, range of motion, conditioning, all that. And, after I'm done, come home, eat heavy because I just, killed myself in the gym, eat heavy, drink a lot of water, stretch, and go to sleep. And by the time Tuesday come, I'm doing the same thing all over again.
And one thing I find really incredible about that, to be able to develop such a unique routine, you start that at a young age. So growing up, what I guess made you be able to have the tools? Was it the people around you? Was it your environment that gave you the tools to be so mentally locked in today?
Honestly, I want to say from like, I think it really started in college, honestly. Like I was around my teammates and I went to school in Fairmont State University in West Virginia. And I had a lot of talented teammates and there was a lot of leaders that was on that team. So, kind of just being there, seeing how they operate and see how, the whole unit operated. Uh, if you surround yourself with like-minded people, with good people, you tend to pick up on like their habits and their traits. So I guess that's where that really started for me, at least. I was just able to implement it to like different aspects of my life.
So that was actually my next question. Going Fairmont State University, it's a unique school for sure. What about that school taught you so much? And what is your biggest memory from your time at Fairmont State?
It's a good question. So basically, just being at Fairmont State, I guess that was really like my first time living on my own for I want to say like 4 or 5 years. So kind of like that isolation away from like my actual home kind of taught me how to like be a man and grow up and fend for yourself and make wise decisions because you're out there by yourself and it's you and your teammates and stuff, but you just gotta be smart. I knew a lot about like hard work. We had a lot of 4 a.m., 5 a.m. workouts on the field, from the field to like the weight room, like that level of discipline that you develop when you're out there. That's certain things that you like take with you when you like just go into other phases of your life, whether it be like work or football or like just things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I want to say I developed a lot of good habits when I was out there. One of my most memorable moments at Fairmont, I want to have to say my senior night. So I'm not really a big emotional person, but I remember being in the locker room right before we walked out. I was just in there by myself. And then, I was just sitting down. I was sitting in my locker. I was just looking around, looking everywhere. I was just really soaking it in because I didn't know if this is going to be like my last time playing football. Football is a business. It's a gamble. It's a chance. You got to put your best foot forward every single day. So I'm sitting in my locker and I'm just looking around and I just start, like tearing up for real. I'm just like, damn, man, like this is really it. Like how does 4 years go by so fast? So yeah, that walking onto the field, seeing my mom, my brother, it was emotional, man. It was a lot. It was a good time.
Definitely. So after college, when you sat down and you evaluated your professional opportunities, there's so many leagues, so hard to count. CFL, NFL, USFL, XFL, IFL, NAL, CIF. So you look at all these leagues. What do you felt like was your best next move, and how did you go about that process?
Honestly, Chris, I wasn't even thinking about none of that at all, like whatsoever. I was kind of just like waiting and seeing what happened. So after I was done playing ball at Fairmont, I ended up getting an invite to an all-star game in Florida called the National Bowl. Yeah, it was called the National Bowl. So I knew that was my next phase. How my thought process was kind of just like, all right, Chin, prepare yourself for like the next thing and just go out there and do your best. Just leave it up to God. Do your part, and God's gonna do His part too. So I went to the National Bowl in Florida, and at a time there, I ended up leading the game in sacks at 3 sacks on the day, and I felt as if my stock was just rising from there.
Definitely. So kind of coming up on my last couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
You've had an interesting journey. What is your biggest piece of advice for younger people?
Biggest piece of advice? Honestly, man, I know it sounds very cliche, but believe in yourself, man. Real talk. If you know you can do something, like you wholeheartedly, 100%, no doubt in your mind, know that you can do something, do it. Don't listen to other people trying to tell you, hey, maybe you should do this, or maybe you should, explore another route. Don't let anybody like derail you from your actual like goals and dreams. Like, be strong-minded in what you do. Put your best foot forward every single time. And you know what I'm saying? Like, don't really like give up hope. Really.
Well, Chindu, I gotta say, I've done many of these. I've met many athletes. I have never felt more ready to run through a brick wall.
This guy.
We'll talk to you, hearing about your experience. I think one day you're gonna have kids that are gonna be wearing shirts that say, "I want to be like Chindu." So, hey, keep going, keep grinding. The possibilities are endless for you, whether it's in football. You say you work for the government. Hell, you could be president, man. I guess my last thing is, where can I get my Chindu merch? And who are some people that you want to shout out?
Man, so I know that the XFL draft is in January. So whatever team I go to, you can definitely buy your merch from there. And some people I just want to shout out, of course. Shout out to God, number one overall. Shout out to my family, my brother Uche, my mother Chica, and shout out to a couple of my good men that was at the XFL Combine with me. So that's Kenny Lewis Jr., wide receiver, real stud guy. Javon Hayes, another wide receiver from Fairmont State, real stud. These are some guys that you guys definitely want to check out. So, best of luck to them.
Love that you're putting the brothers on, man. That's awesome.
For sure.
So, again, Chindu, great time talking to you. I know you'll get picked up by an XFL team. They need you in their league. So keep grinding, man. Have a great offseason and stay in touch.
I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you for having me, dog.
Yes, sir.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.